Hello there, Space Monkeys. Welcome to Political Fight Club. I'm Robert Durden. And in this episode, I'm just going to kind of ramble for a bit. We're going to do some PFC updates, and then I'm going to talk about how Americans are easily distracted and how it's really kind of a problem, and it kind of destroys my soul to see people take their eye off the ball for so fucking long when some of this stupid celebrity shit happens. It's really kind of depressing, because I think that's one of the biggest battles that we as, commentators, journalists, activists have, is that most people in this country have the attention span of a goldfish. So they forget easily that Congress is screwing us and that we're near World War III, and they forget things after a week, and we're in this weird cycle of entertainment addicted psychosis where Will Smith is going to be talked about for a fucking fortnight before we get back to talking about the Ukraine crisis and us funding Nazis and Joe Biden calling Putin a war criminal and asking for regime change in Russia, and he asks for a $813 billion a year military budget for next year for the Pentagon. None of that stuff is actually being talked about because we're too busy worrying about the fucking Oscars. So I want to kind of first digress a little bit. My movie night, Movies for Mayhem, is going to be on Friday. Just wanted to remind you guys, we're going to be doing it every single Friday. The second one is going to be on April 8th, and that's going to be a little bit earlier. I will post a link to that below as well. We're going to be doing Clockwork Orange, and we've got a handful of other ones that are on the table for the second movie that night. Probably something a little more lighthearted after we start with Clockwork Orange. So that's the Censorable Movie Marathon. That's at my friend's place in downtown Peoria. Please bring a $5 donation. We're going to have a lot of people there, and we're going to have some snacks, drinks, and it's a cool place to hang out. So I'll leave the link to that below. That's going to be a lot of fun this Friday. And a couple of other things that are kind of going on in Lefty news right now. Of course, Chris Hedges has lost his show on Contact. He has been censored harder than just about anybody, and I wanted to again remind you guys to go to his Substack. He now has a Substack that is wonderful, and he's writing about this personal experience right now, which is interesting to see. And of course they're gonna get not just RT, but all of the really, really good journalists talking about anti-war stuff, that's Hedges' wheelhouse. He's gonna be silenced like crazy. Let's not allow that to happen. Let's go sub to his Substack. It's wonderful, believe me. And then let's just talk for a second about Will Smith. I had it in my roast, but I'm not going to belabor this. It's frustrating, though, because this is the type of thing that trends and goes viral in this country, and I have a problem with this. Other than, me being a comedian, and I don't like the fact that comedians are now getting assaulted and everybody thinks it's funny in this country, this is one of those things where I wrote 20 jokes in an hour while I was drinking, and then after that, I haven't thought of it since. But every time I get on Twitter, it's all that everybody's fucking talking about again, and this is a pattern, you guys. All the stuff that we have missed out on while this has been in the news, it's like the elites basically either create this type of thing to give them cover to do horrible things, or they just wait for it to happen, blow it up with their propaganda media apparatus and their nice cushy algorithms, so suddenly they can get away with doing all this other horrible shit behind the scenes. And that's exactly what's happened. There's been a lot of things that underwrite the narrative that they have for Ukraine. Putin is in fact advancing through many parts of Ukraine right now and doing a very strategic operation, and they don't want to report on that because they've talked about how Putin is the devil, he's Hitler, he's whatever, and for instance, Putin and the Russians just took over Mariupol and scattered the Azov battalion. I don't know if anybody has actually reported on that in mainstream media. They're too busy talking about Will Smith, right? And then, of course, Joe Biden has just proposed his budget for next year, which includes $813 billion for the Pentagon, which means that the overall defense budget is going to be something like $830 billion. And that's not even included, that doesn't even include the black market money that we get given to the CIA that it's off the books and shit like that. You can basically assume that it's going to be about $820 to $830 billion for the defense budget, which, remember, under Donald Trump, it was $730 to $740 billion. Biden has increased the military budget $100 billion. You could end homelessness 5 times for that amount of money, that increase from Trump. But vote blue no matter who, right? Vote blue no matter who. If you're not embarrassed for having voted for Joe Biden at this point, I don't think there's any convincing you. There's any convincing you that he's in any way better than a straight Republican with stuff like this. So also, the Hunter Biden laptop is in a microcosm, kind of a frustrating example of exactly what I'm talking about. This is and isn't a big story. Parts of it are important, parts of it are not. And there are people that are really focusing on the stupid parts of it that don't really matter so much. Like, I don't care what he was doing in his personal life, what drugs he was doing. I don't really care about him getting hookers. If you're going to just post a picture of him, like, throwing up all over himself, he's got a crack pipe sticking out of his mouth or 5 cigarettes sticking out of his mouth and he's sitting in a hot tub puking on himself, I don't care. I don't fucking care. But there are parts of the Hunter Biden laptop story that are actually important. And I will be reporting on one of them on Rockfin later today. As it turns out, a lot of the emails obtained by the Daily Mail of all outlets indicate that Hunter Biden did a lot of fundraising for like bioweapons labs and biotech labs that are in Ukraine. So he had a kind of a fund that he had with some of his rich boy buddies called Rosemont Seneca, or Seneca Rosemont, something like that. And they were funding numerous, but in particular this one called Metabiota, I think is what it's called. And so he has ties to fundraising for a lot of these labs that we're so worried about in Ukraine. That actually is a big story, and I'll go through the details. It's complicated. That's why I'm not reciting it from memory right now. I'll read to you from the article later on as to what actually happened. That actually is an important story, and we need to understand, if we can, how Hunter Biden is, related to these things that are going on in Ukraine. Also, I'd like to point out that there's so many people that thought the Trump kids were super corrupt, that were super outspoken against Trump and his corruption with Kushner and Ivanka and the 2 dimwit boys. Yeah, they're corrupt as hell, but those same people are now ignoring how fucking corrupt Hunter Biden is, and we're finding out more and more that there was some pay-to-play going on, which is what I got in trouble for saying 6 months ago. I knew there was a fucking reason they took down that New York Post article, and I knew that Ben Schreckinger's book, The Bidens, had done good journalism. Glenn Greenwald was all over it as well. I knew that they censored that for a reason, and now we're kind of finding out why. That laptop had a lot of shit on it, and it's corruption. It's corruption. I don't give a shit about his crack pipe stuff. I'll make a joke about it, but I'm not going to fixate on Will Smith. I'm not going to fixate on Hunter Biden with, drinking a gallon of vodka while falling down and shitting his pants. I don't really care. It's funny, but I'm not thinking about it all day. I'm thinking more about the corruption and following the breadcrumb trail, that has been left by that laptop. We had 2 emails before that had been examined, analyzed, and confirmed to be legitimate by Ben Schreckinger, who wrote that book. Now we're getting more emails that are coming out, and it really does not look good for Hunter Biden. That's the part that interests me. So let's keep our eye on the ball, guys. One of the biggest fights we have in front of us is just fighting this sort of entertainment-driven addiction to entertainment groupthink, where everybody's so fucking reactionary and they're all about this gossipy shit, and they conveniently miss the point of everything because they're so busy trying to figure out what they think about this slap. It's oh, Jesus Christ. We're on the verge of nuclear holocaust. Climate change is right around the corner. Joe Biden is literally leading the petrodollar to collapse. Our economy is in shambles, and he keeps saying it's the best economy ever. There's homeless fucking people everywhere. Things are getting way fucking worse, and so many people just can't seem to stop talking about gossipy shit. It's so annoying. So let's be better. Let's be better than that. You'll never see me making an episode talking about what I think about this slap. I will tell some jokes in a roast, making fun of people and giving you a good idea of how I feel about wokeism. But no, I'm not. I think we need to focus on the things that are actually happening, which is Biden's increasing the military budget by another $50 billion. You know, Putin is actually winning the war in Ukraine, and it looks like they're going to win an economic war that the United States basically picked with Russia and China, because now India is buying a lot of their oil that they would normally get from Russia, but they've agreed to buy it in rubles. So now the Russian currency is up 10%. The petrodollar is collapsing. Gas prices are $5, $6, $7 a gallon in America, and Biden is actually doing that, blaming it on Putin, by the way, blaming it on Putin. And now Putin is about to basically, it seems, bring the war to an end here. We will see what happens. And meanwhile, Joe Biden's calling him a war criminal publicly, making it less likely for Putin to want to come to the bargaining table and actually like bring this to a close diplomatically, because now he thinks the International Criminal Court might be going after him because Joe Biden said that out loud. Joe Biden's talking about actual regime change in Russia, and they're saying that was a slip of the tongue. Bullshit. Bullshit. It's convenient. Now that he's making these gaffes, they're literally using his dementia that they claimed that he didn't have as the reason for him saying things, because he's actually demented and you've been lying this whole fucking time, and it's hilarious that he's now letting the cat out of the bag because you can't keep old Alzheimer's Joe in line. It is kind of funny. It is kind of funny. So while Biden lights this dumpster fire, it was already a dumpster fire. He's pouring gasoline on the dumpster fire that Trump left him. The media's still busy talking about the fucking Oscars and Will Smith. Shoot me now. This is why being a satirist is super easy in today's day and age, because you really just have to kind of observe this cartoonish country as it actually exists, and the jokes kind of write themselves. I gotta be honest. Anyway, I love you guys. Keep fighting that good fight. Let's try to keep our eye on the prize, all right? This country's on the brink. Our safety and our very existence may depend on our ability to have very long memories about what Congress is doing to us, and to also be able to like not be distracted by dummy shit. That may end up being the end of the human race, is the fact that we couldn't look away from our screens. Orwell was right. Jesus Christ. I'll see you guys later.